Doctors of Reddit, what is one of your favorite this dumbass cases you have experienced in regards to the patient? The woman who got into a fight with her husband, took out her handgun and fired into the ground to teach him a lesson. She shot herself in the foot. That must have looked really funny for the husband though. Man came in with a rubber band doubled around one finger. The finger was blue. Another doctor and I just looked at the finger, then looked at him. The unspoken question, never answered, was why. But the thing that bothered me then and to this day was, when it started hurting, why didn't you take the rubber band off? My friend's dad is a vet. He once told me that a lady took her cat in because it kept getting sick, meowing oddly and throwing up. It later came out she was force feeding her cat Fruit Loops for dessert, as if it were a completely normal thing to do. Here, have some freaking dessert you freaking cat. I remember a patient who came in with eye irritation. From the beginning it was clear something unusual was going on. There was an alarming amount of plant material packed under his eyelids. While rinsing it out for him he explained he was vacuum sealing marijuana and opened the lid of a tube to look inside. The actual physics of how this happened from a vacuum sealer are not clear to me. I think he was reluctant to admit he was pressurizing it to create extracts, but whatever. In any case he received a face full of pressurized marijuana, most of which seemed to collect under his eyelids. After pressurizing a container full of weed and promptly opening it inches from his face to look inside. Dumbass. The actual physics of how this happened from a vacuum sealer are not clear to me. Air rushes in and picks up the particulate, and momentum causes it to pressurize over ambient so it blasts back out carrying the debris. It will continue to cycle back and forth as it equalizes, but the initial blast will be quite powerful. Well, military medicine is a tad bit different, but same thing applies. I had this Marine come in with a big hole through his left foot, and as I'm asking him what were you doing at the time and how did it happen, he replied I was at the range and I wanted to see if my steel toe boots were bulletproof. I guess not, doc. That's the most Marine thing I've ever read. Okay, I'm going to chuck in my paramedic, not a doctor story. This was only a few months back. A man decided to impress a group of women by jumping from the first floor of a building onto a group of umbrellas set up for an alfresco dining area on the street below. He actually told us he intended to bounce from one to the next etc, etc. Went straight through the first umbrella, of course, shattered the bones in both his lower legs instead. This was a man in his 40s. I actually asked him, you're in your 40s and you're still using silly playground tricks to impress chicks? He at least had the sense to look embarrassed. I then asked him, so what happened to the women? Oh, they just laughed at me while looking over the edge. Similar story in regard to the age. Went to a concert for a once popular punk band, popular in Australia anyway, back in the 90s. This bloke, again in his 40s, thought he would relive his youth by doing a stage dive. Just like in the movies, the crowd parted and he crashed on through to the floor instead, had a head laceration and blood everywhere. He had shaved his head into a mohawk. Seemingly that day, the bald part was very white. He just looked like an idiot. A scribe here. One time a patient came in complaining of severe eye pain with visual disturbances in both eyes which started about 3 weeks prior. ED doc asked if they wore contacts and they said yes, and that they knew why their eyes started hurting. They hadn't been cleaning or removing their contacts before that initial 3 weeks. Then they kept freaking wearing them for those 3 weeks until they came to the ear. They were another couple days away from losing their vision permanently. The woman with 5 kids who, when asked at her midwife if she needs contraceptive advice, goes oh no, he always pulls out. Genuinely believes her 5 soon to be 6 kids are immaculate conception. During my obs and ginny block at med school, woman comes in for an abortion. Asked about contraception, says he always pulls out. The EMT who strapped my brother to the gurney literally said, "You've done a stupid ass thing today, kid." As he did it, my brother got into my dad's tool shed and started up the freaking chainsaw when no one but us very young kids were home. He was 15 and I guess thought he could handle it, but I was about 11, so I can't even begin to tell you what he needed it for. Anyway, it kicked back real hard when he turned it on and he panicked and dropped it and completely chainsawed off what seemed like half his foot but ended up just being 4 of 5 toes and part of the very top right side. The EMT had to turn off the chainsaw when the ambulance arrived because neither me or my brother could do it. We literally had to wait while my brother and I held the shirt to his foot. We also had to tie a sleeve around this leg because the lady on the phone told us to, while the EMT carefully snuck up on a running chainsaw and turned it off. He was fine, but those toes are toast, and he's now a 29-year-old father of 4 with a prosthetic insert for all his right shoes. Another military medicine tale. User for @0300. Guy shows up with a shriveled and black dong. I ask him what happened. Turns out he contracted gonorrhea from a H downtown and was too ashamed to go to our ED clinic for treatment. Wrapped a rubber band several times around the base of his dong to stop the discharge. End result was a trip back to the US and a lot of surgery. I got a lot of these stories. 22 years in military medicine. This is not my story, nor do I know how true it is, but I don't see why it would be a lie. My high school biology teacher has a best friend who isn't a physician. The doctor told my teacher a story, who then passed it on to us, about a drunk and belligerent college kid who came in unconscious. He woke up to a catheter in him and walked into the hallway, urine bag in hand, demanding the doctor take it out. After the doctor refused, he got angry and decided to throw the bag at the doctor, who promptly stepped out of the way. You can imagine what happened next. I work in a hospital, have had to remove bottles of ethanol-based hand sanitizer from the rooms of patients who have alcohol addictions. They actually try drinking the stuff. Yuck. Yep, this is practically what killed my sister. My own dumbass case here. In summer of 2014, me and my friends were fricking around with a blowgun. We gladly used rolled up papers as ammo. A friend of mine decided to aim at me and blow. As he blowed, I turned my head away, and suddenly I heard a bang followed by the loudest ringing sound. The paper penetrated right through my eardrum while I turned. What are the odds? After I went to the doctors, he told me he hasn't experienced something like this. Dumb. Ever. Ringing sound went away after 6 weeks. As a man who suffers from tinnitus, I can say you got off lucky. Patient here was chopping wood, wearing flip-flops, at the cottage, was 90 minutes from a hospital and axed myself in the foot. Luckily, I missed all the important bits and just needed 20-something stitches. Doc tells me they have a word for people like me. Sishirt. An idiot from the city. I was not offended. In residency, my so-sore patient with severe lacerations to the vagina. Come to find out, she and her old man were having a rather passionate time, and being a good man, he wanted to spice it up. Looking about, he didn't see what he wanted, so he ran to the kitchen, grabbed her, I am not making this up, star cookie cutter, put it on his manhood and ran back and sliced her pee into ribbons. How many vajajas must suffer before our government puts a warning label on star cookie cutters? What the frick? I worked as a scribe in the ED, had a blacklisted patient come in looking for pain meds. Computer records say her last visit was maybe 6 months prior. During the exam, she told us it was her first time at this hospital. So my physician says, so you're saying you were never here back in March 2016? What about December 2015? No? Do you have an identical twin who may be using your name? Because that's the only way I believe you were never here. No? Oh, this is very serious then. I think we have a case of identity theft going on. Hold on just a moment and I can contact PD for you. The patient quickly remembered her previous visits and eloped shortly after that conversation. I worked and volunteered as a firefighter EMT. This dumbass got into a fight with his girl while driving along, so she pulls over and kicks him out of the car. She drives off and he starts walking. A short while later, she, after picking up her mother, drives back by, and this dumbass decides he is going to kick the car. The moving car. The car going 50 miles an hour. The only thing holding his foot on below the ankle was a thin bit of skin and muscles. His heel was touching the back of his leg. He got to enjoy a lot of morphine during his helicopter flight to the trauma center. I worked as a 911 call taker for a while. I get a call from a woman who said her friend's son sent her a picture of her 19-year-old kid with a snake bite. She's not there with him, but is on the way. I get his number and call him. Hi, I'm Monster Mayhem from Emergency Services. I got a call that you were bitten by a snake. What happened? Dude was bitten on the hand by a rattlesnake the day before. Not unusual. Rattlesnakes are common in this neck of the woods and people like to pick them up for some reason. I start getting an ambulance rolling his way and ask about his condition. His hand is black blue and swollen as frick. It hurts, but he hasn't really done anything about it. He's at home watching TV. Scene safety is drilled into us from the get-go. Even though it's been 24 hours since the bite, I ask if he knows where the snake is. In her tank, of course. Silly me. Who doesn't have a freaking pet venomous snake? Before I could get farther into that line of questioning, the ambulance pulls up, so I'll let them deal with it. I monitor the call for the next few hours. Super unusual to have a call like that go on for so long. Usually they pick him up and take him to the hospital. Not long after the bus gets there, police are called out. Apparently this dumbass was trying to commit suicide by snake bite. I say dumbass because it can kill you and it's going to hurt the entire time you're dying. I don't know what happened to the snake. I think animal control politely refused the call and they had to get a specialist to deal with it. I work at an animal hospital. One of the techs told me a lady called in one day and was frantic because her dog ate some capsule that was on the ground outside. She then told our tech that there was another capsule on the ground, so the lady herself decided to ingest it to feel what her dog felt. Apparently avocado hand is a thing. For the unaware, avocado hand is a colloquial name for a mechanism of injury where someone holds one half of an avocado in one hand and tries to remove the stone with a knife. They slip and stab themselves in the hand. Woman couldn't afford an IUD but wanted to have a similar type of birth control, so she figured if she used super glue it would do the trick. So she came in with severe burning to her cervix. Yep. Super glued cervix. Yep. Not a doctor, 911 operator and EMT. I had someone call one night because their girlfriend burned herself with a pot of hot water. He told me it happened about 20 minutes prior to him calling, and in the meantime he had slathered on butter to cool the wound. Quite shocked at that. I said, oh no sir, we do not put butter on burns, and he was like, wait, is that bad? Growing up we always held a frozen stick of butter on burns. At some point it changed to dunking it in a bowl of ice water, but I never quite knew what the logic for butter was. It's not a specific event, but it is the people that come into emergency along the lines of this. I've been having chest pain for 3 months and decided to come in today because I was driving by. Or, I have a doctor's appointment at 4 PM but I have some free time now. We told this person that we're refusing to see them and that they can wait until their appointment. Not only are they wasting our time and money, the emergency doc, but the family doc that now has a no-show for an hour slot. BTW, this is in Canada, so usually no charges to the patient for no-shows and being seen in emergency. A 30-something-year-old lady came in with vaginal bleeding. Nothing else noteworthy going on. No abdominal pain. No stinging when she peed, no abnormal discharge, no fevers, and the bleeding wasn't particularly heavy. Her last period was 4 weeks earlier, and she had regular 4 weekly periods. Surprise surprise, period. I was the patient. I was cooking latkes, potato pancakes, drunk at 2 AM. Latkes are cooked in a heavy bottom skillet full of oil. I forgot about this and decided to do the pan flip thing, dousing my entire arm and getting burnt really badly. Doctor asked me if they were at least good latkes. I was on a clinical rotation in school and someone took something like 11 Benadryl trying to get high. Poor thing got her stomach pumped and ended up on a psych hold restrained to her bed because she was too loopy to communicate, and family and staff assumed a suicide attempt because she hadn't had any substance abuse in her past, to their knowledge. A guy came in today with a perforated colon. He claimed it was from an ice cube he inserted while in the shower. I'm a medic. Responded to a call for an eye problem. Grandma had put too much eyeliner on 1-year-old granddaughter and her eyelashes stuck together. Some girl rear-ended a stationary garbage truck at around 45 miles per hour and stated he came out of nowhere, just like 40-year-old virgin. Her phone was on the floorboard in front of her. 10-year-old kid brought Carolina ghost peppers into school, gave them to 3 friends. Him and his friends ended up in the nurse's office. Nurse freaked out and called EMS. The kid who brought them in said it was his friend's fault for eating them. He also told me he has fed them to his cat before. Some dude called 911 after he got pepper sprayed trying to stab someone. Overdose of this guy, his mom, and his buddy all together in the car. Cool family bonding time. Guy punched a window, broke his hand, elbowed the window for breaking his hand, possibly fractured his elbow. This is Pajama Doggo. He can only rest if you type sleep well doggo, sleep well doggo. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video, or don't. Either way, have a great day you magnificent people.